everybody, I am Nu-Trix the Synth Guy, and today we're talking about new updates to Pigments from Arturia. It's one of the most powerful sampler, synthesizer, hybrid software you can find today on the market. It is massively fun to play with. It's one of the easiest modulation matrix you can find. It's basically just a couple of windows and everything is there. So it's really cool and easy to play with, but still super deep and complex if you want to. Now there's an update, and in the update there's a lot of new enhancement, little features. So we'll go through all of these little things that are new and new banks of sounds. The banks of sound, I made separate videos to play back the demos of the sounds that are part of it so you can listen to them. So they're going to be linked somewhere up here or down there, whatever, or in the end of the video you'll find them. Let's start right away with what's new in Pigments 4. In Pigments 4, you have this window that we already know. There's a couple of new enhancements to it, but one of the new thing is that you have a play mode now. The play mode is kind of a scale down or optimized view of what's happening. So it's meant to be used when you're playing the synthesizer and you're not deep diving into all the little features for sound design. And when you play, you mostly want to play with big values like the filter or the position in the wavetable. So that's what you have in this window. You see when you go into play mode, now you have control over the coarse tuning, the position in the wavetable, the start point, stuff that it's actually useful in the big picture when you're playing the instrument, and the filter cutoff point. And then you see here what's happening with the different modulation. You get 3 of them and they're doing this. That's it. So it's a very scaled down vision of what's happening, but it's really useful when you're playing because you don't want to have everything in front of you. So it's a cool way to do it. Also, there's an option about the graphic, the color itself. So there's the dark theme they call, and there's the light version if you go into the synth mode. So it also exists there. It's actually pretty nice. It depends on what you want. Do you want a dark or a light graphic for all of it? Now there's also little enhancements, like if you don't want to use the effect, if you want to mute the effects or deactivate the sequence to hear what you're doing sound design wise, you can easily click here and just deactivate it right away. You're deactivating all the effects into one little click. Same thing with the sequencer. Turn it off right away. Instead of having to go into it and turn off everything, you just turn off the whole thing. You also have this in play mode because they're here. You can just deactivate them separately or deactivate the whole thing here. So very quick to just bypass and listen to the raw sound if that's what you need. Okay. What else? There's an enhanced way of editing your sound. So let's say you have this little sound here. Just put my headphones, and you want to modify the position. You want to modify this. So you just take the LFO and drag it to position. Now you see you've got a new little graphic under it, so you know how much of this is happening. You want more, you go in this one, you click and you move up. So it's even easier than before, and it's especially useful when you have more than one LFO on the same destination. You see, you have the 2 of them. And if you have a randomizer or a random whatever, you have different colors, so you see the values of them. The other thing that is interesting now, when you click on LFO and you have the LFO at the bottom here, you always have the same logic as the rate, the waveform, and when you move with the waveform, you're basically changing from different shapes. But now you can quickly move between these presets from sine wave, triangular, square, saw down, saw up, and random sample and hold. So you have all of them here, but basically when you're clicking these, you're basically just changing these 2 values here to get the right shape. So these are presets of the LFO basically. In sync, when you're doing any type of sync, you now have triplets and dotted only, or straight only. So you've got more control than before. In the engines by themselves, the Wavetable engine, now you have the ring modulation, have linear, exponential, and ring modulation, and so you get more control than before. And in the phase transform, you have a pseudo pulse width modulation. So you can actually play with that. So you can play with that. Okay, so that's a new one. You have the Unison, and you have different type of Unison. You have the chord, super. Super is inspired by the super saw. The fact you can have all of these different version of the same sound played at the same time and overlapping, like in the JP8000 from Roland, which was the first one to call it super saw, which was kind of basically imitating classic analog synthesizers playing 5 sawtooth in unison mode, but being what they are, analog, they were not exactly the same. So you would create that bigger than live sound, and having that super saw was try to mimic them. So you can have this as in the unison mode, you have the chord or the super for the super something. It doesn't have to be a saw, it could be something else. But still, it sounds pretty big when you use that. In the harmonic engine, you now have also here, phase modulation ratio and amount. So you have more of that FM type of sound with that. Here, you have this new modulator oscillator here that you can have. But what's interesting, actually, you already add that, but the difference now is you can actually tune it in hertz, very low. So you can create these weird FM type of sounds. We'll play with that, you'll see. So that's an interesting one also. In the effects section now, you have filter and effects. You have a new filter mode, which is basically the MS-20. So the Korg MS-20 filter. It sounds nice. It has that roundness to it. Okay, so that's what you have. And you have a Shimmer Reverb. If you go into the effects now, you have a new reverb. If you go reverb here, you have Shimmer, which is a new. And it sounds really rich and wide, so it's really cool one. You have more control over some of the effects. Again, if we go into, let's say, Bit Crusher, now you have a jitter mode that was not there before. You also have in the, the distortion, which is the distortion plus a filter here. If you go into, now you have a notch filter for using with the distortion. So all the little things that adds a little bit more control or more depth to it. So a cool update, but mostly the fact that you can just drag and drop and having this changes a lot of the graphical approach, and the fact you can just go into play mode and you have a very straight line, simple to use, quick access when you're going to play the song. It's really a cool thing. On top of that, you've got new wavetables, 63 new wavetables. You have 67 new samples and 36 new noise types. So a lot of, I would say, more noisy type of sounds. Let's actually turn this one off. Let's go into this one. Let's turn this one off, turn this one on, and see kind of the new Pigments 4. And you see, after you turn 1 to 0 and you come back, it disappeared. The link has been erased for the modulation part. Again, these are the raw wavetables, so there's a ton of them. You see, just a massive amount of them. So again, it's just more and more options, more and more sounds. And you really get to to hear them when you go into the new banks. So the new banks, you have the new wavelength cinematic, the wavelength lo-fi, and the neuro bass. So just to give you a couple of ideas, I'm just going to click one by default. You get these type of you can easily imagine them into any type of image related. It just sounds really massive and cool. So for the full list of this, the links will be here, down, or after the end of the video. You'll see that. Let's try just to give you a couple of examples of the other bank, which is a lo-fi. Lo-fi, you've got these. Okay, you get these type of. And if we go to the last one, which is the wavelength neuro bass, this one's a lot more aggressive. So I go with neuro bass, really aggressive, really just a lot of distortion. That's it. That's still one of the most powerful yet simple to use sampler, synthesizer, hybrid, combinator software you can have today. It's the Pigments. Even easier than before. There's so much option in the wavetables and the samples and all these raw sound that you can just get lost into it. So these banks are really useful to just get something that you go, okay, I like what it sounds like, and use it right away, or tweak it to become the one thing you find super cool. That's it. I hope you like it. I hope it's actually useful. Stay safe. See you soon. Make more music. Bye, guys.